If you've been a viewer of online content for more than a day, you're probably familiar with the pitfalls of being a YouTuber, a streamer, a TikToker, anything like that, because online creators love to complain about how hard their lives are. And sometimes, their problems aren't exactly caused by themselves. Creators that rely on pre-existing content have to deal with larger companies trying to protect their own copyright. Let's players, streamers, and video essayists sometimes have an MCN, or multi-channel network, to deal with these behind the scenes, or at least they had. But before those days, creators had to deal with them one-on-one. False copyright claims are sometimes weaponized to silence criticism or simply try to shut down someone that is a target. Now, in the world of stream sniping and cutthroat YouTubers stirring the tea with the intention of ending careers, this may seem pretty commonplace and almost inconsequential in the grand scheme of the internet. However, 10 years ago, this was a much larger deal, and 10 years ago, people hadn't really diversified their YouTube portfolio by having multiple channels, best-selling critically acclaimed books, or a music and sports career, so having one channel taken down was pretty much having your entire platform taken away. To longtime fans to the Let's Play community, or the LP community, the names Chugga Conroy, Chugga, and Nintendo Capri Sun, NCS, are synonymous with the genre. Some might consider them to be true LPers, as they focus on one or a few single-player games at a time, with the intention of it being primarily a walkthrough, less based on personality and the reactions of a figure like PewDiePie or Markiplier that would soon take over the scene. That's not to say that their personalities weren't a big part of the popularity, as they had each grown considerable and dedicated followings by July of 2010. Around this time, thousands of channels started getting flagged for copyright violations and had DMCA takedowns to their channels and videos, and NCS and Chugga were the two largest affected by it. Around this time, Chugga had amassed around 120,000 subscribers, making him one of the most popular LPers on the site, if not the most popular LPer on the site, while NCS had around 42,000 subs. Thankfully, in Nintendo Capri Sun's own words, the community response was pretty incredible, nothing but love. He had to put his videos on Blip.tv, which is probably most well known for hosting nostalgia critic videos. Since then, Blip has now been lost to time, unfortunately, but it did work for the time and had very lax copyright rules. At the beginning of August of the same year, the channels were back up. In total, the takedowns were about 3 weeks long. Now, this made it sound like a little story of a YouTube algorithm going a little haywire and taking down channels that should have been taken down and handing out suspensions to channels that didn't deserve it, but there was a conspiracy theory that went around at the time that makes the whole story a little more interesting. CONJOPI, or CONJOPI, known by many other names, was apparently the pseudonym of the person who was blamed and also the person who took credit for the takedown of at least Nintendo Capri Sun and Chugga Conroy's channel. Apparently, this account was personally flagging Let's Players' channels because they had used copyrighted material of the games that they were playing, and that was grounds for a takedown. Granted, there were suspensions and not full-scale deletions. It's still scary to see such a large investment of yours being taken away for you for malicious reasons. Due to my Reddit super sleuth abilities, I found NCS's Reddit account and messaged him on there with a few questions about the whole situation. He was kind enough to respond with very informative answers. One interesting point NCS brought up that I had never considered before was that CONJOPI was actually a YouTube employee. This was never proven, however, and even if all the takedowns were done by one person and they were a YouTube employee, there's still no guarantee they went online as CONJOPI. That's just a theory. I think this is the first case of a false flagger going around on YouTube. Personally, I think that CONJOPI was just a troll trying to take advantage of the situation and try to gain some notoriety from it, or at the very least, some entertainment. It was probably just the YouTube algorithm going haywire, like I said before, and they just tried to take credit for it. We can compare these takedowns today with Nintendo and the Nintendo Creators Program, with Nintendo wanting an official partnership between creators doing Let's Plays with their videos and their content, the recent DMCA controversy seen on Twitch, and some pretty bad takes that came from that. Either way, copyright takedowns are still a concern for creators who do content based off of other content, but thankfully, due to things like Patreon and generally diversified content patterns, a takedown of your channel doesn't necessarily mean the end of the world. Huge shout out to Nintendo Capri Sun himself, being gracious enough in answering a random PM on Reddit and helping with the first-hand account of the events detailed in this video. The man has been producing Let's Plays for over 12 years. This has been Old Men of YouTube.